I'm an elementary school dropout. In 5th grade, I came and told my parents that I didn't want to go to school, like many 5th graders do. But instead of not taking me seriously, my parents said, well, okay, it's your life, make your own decisions. The worst possible thing that could happen is that you might go back. School's always going to be there. And while my parents spent many sleepless nights wondering about how I would fare outside of school, they let me become an unschooler, the self-directed form of homeschooler. Instead of going to middle school and high school, I found mentors, I built businesses, I did internships, and was able to create my own educational experience. What's interesting is that even after 6 years outside the classroom, I still went to college. Because my parents had gone, my peers were going, and that's what society expects that you do if you want to be an educated member of society. But what I found at college was that the same frustrations that I had in 5th grade were still present. People were there not because they wanted to learn, but because they wanted to get degrees. And not only that, the cost was rising drastically. So I founded UnCollege.org, the organization that I run today, and moved back to San Francisco to promote and help people understand that you can learn outside of the university. When I was 17, I first moved to San Francisco to work at Zinch, a startup that sort of ironically actually helps people get into college. But what was interesting about my time at Zinch was that I was doing sort of an apprenticeship. Over the 6 months that I spent there, I moved around, I spent time in different roles, and ultimately grew into a full position over the 6 months that I spent there. And what I learned while at Zinch is that people have a really hard time finding quality talent, whether or not they've gone to college. When I was interviewing candidates at Zinch, I tried not to look at people's resumes or transcripts, but rather look for evidence of what they'd done in the real world. Had they created real-world projects? And this was just one example of the larger skills gap that we have in the economy, the fact that colleges and universities are not teaching the skills that are actually needed in industry. We like to think that maybe the problem is that we don't have any STEM graduates, but I think that the problem might be a little bit more meta than that. Dave Hoover started an apprenticeship program at Groupon in Chicago. Dave knew from personal experience that you could learn how to code when you were older. He taught himself to code when he was 30, after 15 years as a marriage and family therapist. And so Dave started this program wherein apprentices have 6 months to learn how to code. They come in, they work in a tight feedback loop, they work with mentors, they are placed on a real team, they get to work on real projects and build a portfolio over the time that they spend there. And ultimately they found that this was a much better way to recruit employees and actually cost less than paying headhunters. In 2009, the Conference Board found that over 60% of companies have a high need for creative and self-directed employees. And it's crazy to think that you will get creative and self-directed employees after you send people through 16 years of a system, which science has shown us since the 1970s actively stifles self-direction and creativity. Recently, Dave left Groupon to develop his own organization, Apprentice, to help develop more apprenticeship programs around the world. And what's interesting is that apprenticeship used to be big in the States. And then we decided that everyone should go to college, that everyone can achieve anything in line with the American dream, everybody should go. My argument today is not that schools should go away, but rather that there should be multiple paths, because different people find fulfillment in different ways. Recently, Siemens found that they needed to start hiring apprentices to get people to learn how to weld. Because, big surprise, they found that Harvard doesn't teach welding. And who can blame them? It's a much better way to find talent. You get people who learn the culture of the company while on the job and become more motivated and more dedicated employees. In Germany, the home of Siemens, apprenticeship is alive and well. They have one of the lowest youth unemployment rates in Europe when unemployment is out of control, and that's because there are apprenticeship programs that are thriving. German universities work directly with German industries, so the universities are teaching skills that are actually marketable. And that means that you get employees who are productive from day one. Law firms have recently found that recent law school graduates take 6 months to a year to train on the job before they actually become productive employees. Why don't you take those young lawyers and put them to work from day one? Over 4 to 6 years, they'd learn the same skills that they would have in school without the crippling debt. Sure, they'd start at the bottom filing papers, but then again, everybody does. The smart ones would work hard and find their way to the top. And you'd have a workforce of employees who wouldn't be staggered with an average of $27,000 in debt when they graduate. In 20 years, I don't think there's any reason that universities as we know them today will exist. Instead, we'll see educational programs coming down directly from the industry. Why won't there be an Apple School of Design, an Ogilvy School of PR, and a Salesforce.com School of Sales? Tiffany and JR are two individuals who went through the apprenticeship program that I described in Chicago. Traditional college didn't make sense for either of them. Tiffany was a single mother at 21, and JR, from a small Midwestern town, simply couldn't afford college. For them, apprenticeships offered the flexibility that they needed to succeed. Today, Tiffany and JR work at Accenture and Groupon. They've been there for a few years, they've been promoted multiple times, and they're some of the most motivated and dedicated employees on their teams. If you're interested in learning more about the revolution in education, you can check out my book, which is coming out in January, called Hacking Your Education, and read more at the website uncollege.org about the efforts that we are promoting to help create a workforce of creative, self-directed individuals. Thank you.